on the safari, we would just pull up, and the guy would say, we're just going to sit and wait. And it kind of popped up the roof so you could look out. And all of a sudden, you'd see something move in the brush, and you couldn't even see it before. It was camouflaged perfectly. And there was a whole pride of lions, and all of a sudden they get up, and they're coming fairly close. And the place where we stayed were these tents, but they told you not to go out after dark. Do not leave your tent.
Else you get devoured.
It was around like 2 or 3, and my teammates like, Jen, get up. There were elephants just walking right through.
What's up, guys? Hope you enjoyed this bonus episode for Mother's Day with the one, the only, my mother, Jen Sontag. She talks about being a nurse. We talk about motherhood. We talk about raising me. She also gives us awesome story about when she was a missionary to Uganda back in the late 80s. So it was really cool stuff. And if you're a mom listening, happy Mother's Day. And hope everyone's doing good. See you next time. Hi, Mom. Welcome to my podcast.
Well, Ben, thank you having me on the last house on the left.
Yeah, I had to double check the name, right? Hey, it's right there.
Get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's good to have you on,
Yeah.
Mom. This was kind of not last second, I should say, but Mother's Day was coming up. I'm like, that would be so.
You got a mom? Why not?
Yeah,
Right?
I do have a mother. She's right here. So, Bethany and Abby were the first ones. Were like, you should get Mom on. She'd have a lot of good things to say.
Wow, my claim to fame. I'm Ben's mom. Here I am.
Well, I would say the hierarchy goes kind of like Mariah, Steph, me, Bethany, Abby. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, no, I was at Bonhoeffer's, just a couple months ago, and going to pay and cash out, and someone goes, "Are you Ben's mom?" And I'm like, look at that. It still happens.
Oh, yeah. Oh, who was it, by the way?
Someone you played ball with.
Oh, Elias Bork, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
he's
so.
a good dude. Shout out to you, man, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Cool. So I just thought it would be fun to chop it up with you guys. So my normal moniker or phrase is, this is where I chop it up with my friends, kill time, and speak
right.
what's on my mind. But technically, if you think about it, we're not friends.
Oh.
We're family. So
We are family, but we can still be
friends. Which is a good thing, yeah.
Actually, I think that's the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah.
After your kids grow, you're friends with them.
Yeah, because imagine that's one thing where, depending upon like how you were brought up, some parent like kid relationships relationships. Sorry, I've been slurring my words a lot lately, and it's like 10 a.m. so I haven't had anything to drink. So
wow.
I just wanted to clear the air there. Yeah, thank you for paying for breakfast, by the way. That was
You're
amazing.
very welcome.
And your omelet was like a veggie. What was it?
Pesto veggie omelet.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah, I like Marianne's Diner, man. It's simple.
Very good.
It's simple food, but that's what it's called. It used to be called the Red Arrow Diner for all the local people listening.
Well, can I tell you something else?
Tell me.
Back in the day, that is where Dad asked me to marry him. It used to be a very nice restaurant. You didn't know about this?
That place.
Greenhouse Cafe. You'll have to ask Dad later.
I never knew
this. It was
this.
a very nice restaurant. Yeah, so it's been several things over the years. I mean, we got married back in 89. So this was probably
this is crazy. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know that
the question.
He got on one knee, of course, right?
No.
He didn't.
No. He didn't. We were at a table, and so
you
we
could
were gonna
just
pray.
go like this.
We were gonna. He could have. We were at a table, and we were gonna just pray before we ate. So we're holding hands.
Yeah.
And we're done praying, and I look up, and he's still just looking at me, holding my hand, and I'm like.
Is he like sweating? He's like.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna need these to eat. Then he finally was like, ask the question.
Oh my gosh.
All the rest is history. Here we be.
Jeez, wow. Well, what a great story to open up with. That's funny. And so you've been married to Dad for
34 years.
34 years. Nice. I do have a question about that. What at what year do you like forget the number?
Oh, never, Ben.
Never?
You're never supposed to.
And Dad
forget
will
the
always
number.
remember it, right?
Well, I did have a year or two where I advance the year, and he never let me forget that or
Really?
live that down.
Wow. Man, that was funny.
No.
That was funny. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. So as you know, one of my friends, Nicole, shout out to her, as a young mom.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to get in about, like just raising us kids and whatever.
Sure.
But let's take it back. Let's take it way back,
Yeah,
Mom.
way back. All right.
Where were you born?
Where's it born? I was born in Boston,
Boston.
Massachusetts. Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why go Celtics, diehard Celtics
Yes.
fan.
It's pretty rough right now, though.
You know what? But
0-2.
just like the Patriots, we are going to stay
Yeah.
devoted fans.
28-3, right?
That's
There's still
right.
those.
That's right.
Oh, but yeah, even the Patriots now, they are.
Yeah, they had a rough season.
How many? I think they had
last
like
year.
4 or 5 wins. I don't know.
But
It was definitely rough. So, one interesting thing about, I feel like, with your life that I've known and had the privilege of kind of just seeing from pretty up close and whatever, is that, like, to be honest, when you were growing up, Mom, you kind of had like a hard childhood, right?
yeah.
To a certain degree.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah. And obviously we don't have to get into every like little niche and whatever, but I would look at you as like an overcomer.
Well,
You know,
Thank
you
you.
think of that where you're like a walking scripture reference. So the very famous scripture where like they overcome by the blood of the lamb and their testimony.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I think you have a
Revelation.
great testimony with all that. But I was thinking, like, some of the like obstacles when you were. Do you want to talk about any of them? Because you grew up with, basically, you had essentially a single mom,
A
my
single
grandmother.
mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which she had a hard life,
Yeah.
And there's no perfect mom, and my mom was a great mom, and she did the best that she could with what she had.
Yeah.
And so, and actually, I think, it builds a strength and resiliency in you. But sometimes you don't know it's hard until you kind of reflect back on things.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been part of my story. You just plow through things and you figure it out as you go, and then you realize, hey, that was pretty tough.
Yeah.
So,
And one thing I've told you a couple times, and I've told her, is my friend Amara. She reminds me a lot of, just from the stories that you have given me over the years and stuff she said, that were like, I've just learning how to, I feel like us kids, like your kids are like we're super pampered. Like we didn't have to start making our lunch or doing or cooking dinner for the family at like what, 10 years old? What age were you
probably
doing that?
5th grade, I
Wow.
think. But
What was the first meal you made? Do you?
it's probably
remember?
baked chicken, Ben.
Yeah.
Probably baked chicken. Yeah, I love a good baked chicken.
I do. I sure do. Wow.
Yeah.
So you 5th grade, so how old is?
So probably, I don't know, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's different. You have to kind of all pull together and help out, and I'm glad that your experience growing up has been different. But you guys, you still had chores. You still had to do things around the house. It wasn't all.
Yeah, it wasn't bad
It
though.
wasn't all sunshine and roses.
Yeah. If you want to, depending upon how the day goes, I can go and mow the lawn.
I
over
did
the
it
weekend.
yesterday, but thank you.
You did? Oh, okay. I got home at frickin' 10 p.m.
I
last
appreciate
night.
the thought, though.
So
Got my steps in yesterday, Ben.
how many steps are you trying to get in a day?
Oh,
'Cause you-
10,000.
You follow it with your watch,
yeah,
right? Wow.
Yeah, I think yesterday was a long
That's
lot of
interesting.
steps.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the steps I do for work, it's got to be a couple miles.
You
right?
definitely would get
I'm on
your
my feet.
steps in.
Yeah.
Yeah, running back
Huh.
and forth.
So with
Is there something else I can help with?
whoa, Siri.
Oh.
No, Siri, go away.
Okay.
That was interesting. He just came up randomly, and I'll edit it out.
Oh.
Siri was going
Yeah.
crazy, guys. So when it came, you mentioned, or we were just talking about,
You
like-
mentioned Amara. Love Amara.
Oh yeah,
Wonderful
I love her
girl.
too. Shout out to you, girl. But just that, like you kind of grew up differently than Dad, because Dad grew up you had a big family. You
Yeah.
had
Yeah,
3
5
brothers.
kids. Yeah.
and a sister, and then Dad had 6 siblings.
He's one of 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Or no? Oh no, he's one of 6.
One of 6,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, got the got the numbers messed up. No surprise there. Uh,
Sorry, that's probably from my side. Dad's good with the numbers. I am not.
yeah. But like he had his family, they were super, super tight. Not saying like your immediate family wasn't, but when like he had both of his parents in the picture, and then you had you never met your biological father,
No,
right?
never knew.
And then you never, but then do you have any memories of your stepfather?
Oh yeah, definitely. My mom was married for a few years, but unfortunately that didn't work out, and
Yeah.
she got divorced. But yeah.
So really, if this is pressing too much, we
That's
can
all right.
we can edit it out. But when it came to, what was the thing I was just gonna miss? I have my notes in front of me, and I'm already
Okay.
kinda-
Don't be nervous.
I'm trying.
Ben.
I am. No. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
It's something no one's ever told me across from the mic for me not to be nervous. So one thing that I wanted to mention, you had a little bit of a time I remember when actually, you know what? I'll come back to that later. So, what were some of your best memories as a kid? Because you grew up right in Merrimack, right?
Yep, pretty much. We moved up from Massachusetts probably when I was in 3rd grade. Lived in Nashua for a few years, then to Merrimack. I'd say early on, and I think I did this with you guys, is going to the beach.
Yeah.
I remember us going to Cranes Beach in Ipswich, Mass. And after the beach, it always included, a trip for ice cream.
But not the Haven though, right? A different place.
No.
Yeah, that place wasn't around.
No, but I kind of grew up that way and
Wow.
kept that tradition going on. And I loved being active and just always playing
You were an athlete,
sports.
yeah.
And,
What sports? Tell the people.
Oh, basketball was my. I love basketball, but I played softball. I ran cross country, and I played field hockey as well. But we had a big neighborhood, like when I lived in Nashua, and all the kids were always out playing. They just big hordes of kids playing.
Yeah. That was a common
tag
thing.
football or just whatever. So.
And you
I
play
love
with the
that.
boys, right?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah, I had
That's
3
awesome.
brothers. I love
Yeah,
the
let's
boys,
go.
being out with the boys.
And your brothers were all badasses too.
Well,
I
a couple of them were, they love sports too, so they were playing too.
Yeah. Yeah, because like Uncle Chris was a football player.
Yeah.
Uncle Mike also played football.
Yep, they played baseball, football,
Yeah.
and skiing. I had
Yeah,
wonderful memories skiing also because
You were nice.
for
you
a
were
little
a nice
while
skier, I heard.
we
Carving up the slopes.
we had season passes to Sunapee and Cannon Mountain, so we'd ski 40, 50 plus times in a season.
Wow.
For probably like a 4 or 5 year period.
Think about how expensive skiing is now, though.
But back then, I remember was when my stepdad, so there were 7 of us, it was $700 for a season pass for our whole family for the year.
And you would use it so often
And we'd
that it'd
use
be worth it.
we'd count. Okay, after this is now free skiing. We'd
Yeah.
go so many times and now it's all just free.
That's what my old boss used to do when it came to golf.
Yeah.
He's like, if I go 40 times in
Yeah.
this.
But it's unfortunate now
$2,000
because
season pass.
it's just a great family sport, but the cost is prohibitive, I think, for a lot of families. But you learned to ski
Yeah.
through the the ski program right at school.
Yeah, at school way back in the day.
So-
Yeah. It's so funny now. I wouldn't go near a slope mainly because I felt like maybe I didn't do it enough to get that muscle memory down. But imagine like snowboarding now or whatever and falling and twisting my knee. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Did you ever hear this story? I actually recorded this. I don't know if I have this on record, if it was with my podcast with Josh or the one that we filmed that I didn't. I lost the file. Big surprise.
Oh.
We were talking about that right before I started. It's like, imagine if I didn't hit record.
Yeah.
Where I was at Grace Christian School, and it's like 4th
Mhm.
or 5th grade for
Yeah.
me. And me and this guy, Sam, were up on the top of this mountain, and we saw an ambulance rush in down. We're
Oh.
like,
Yeah.
someone probably broke their leg, or I don't know if I said that exact phrase, but it turned out like a kid from our school hit a pack of ice, and he was a nice skier or
Yeah.
snowboarder even at that age, and he broke his leg pretty
Yeah.
badly. He broke it
Yeah.
in the growth plate.
Oh yeah, that's bad. That's a
Yeah.
bad
Can
break.
can that still like grow back or
Oh yeah,
does
it's just a bad break. I mean, hopefully everything heals and he was fine. But
Yeah.
I can remember, we took a few lessons. I remember the 5 of us kids when I was little, and the first lesson the instructor just walked around and pushed us all down, and he was like, "This is your first lesson. You need to learn how to get up." And so, yeah, but it's true. It's a lot of fun. It's a great sport. But again, I I think that it's there are ways you can do it. Maybe you can go to a smaller mountain and learn. And I know I'm sorry because I didn't teach you guys how to ski, but there's still time.
Well, Bethany, Mariah, and Abby never tried.
Well, they'd like to though. They say that,
Yeah.
and so but now,
I
so
hate falling
maybe-
down. Imagine falling down with skis, and I didn't have poles at the time, so I had to like kind of.
That's how you have to learn to get up, don't you?
It's tough.
You
It's
see
difficult.
it, right? You got to learn how
'Cause
to get up.
Sometimes like your butt's on the ground and your back's like this, and you
It's
have
the
to push
core.
on- Yeah,
It's the
it's it's terrible. Dad was doing core at the gym today before we were doing that. and-
That's good. When I push him down, he can get up.
Yeah. One quick thing I just wanted to really jump back to real quick. We were talking about like kids in the neighborhood or whatever.
Hmm.
I feel like my generation or people around. I don't know. Are me and Abby? Are we the same generation?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, you're only what 4 years?
Yeah, I'm 27. Abs is
Yeah,
20.
22.
No, 22.
22.
Yeah.
But you just turned 27, a little
Yeah.
over 4 years.
When I was a kid, like, also we would still have kids that would play out in the neighborhood all the time.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's a thing anymore, at least in like suburban. Well, if it is,
Yeah.
not like with a big group of people.
Yeah.
Because we had all these different family kids that
Yeah.
were in the area.
Yeah.
And even times where I would get rocked playing football with the
Oh,
older
yeah, with the
kids.
older boys. Yeah,
Jeez,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
That was nuts. But I feel like I just don't see it as much. And you don't see people.
I don't
Everyone's
think
got
you
phones
do.
and
I
everything.
think there is,
Video
but
games.
for my own sanity as a mom, we were outside, and we were outside year round. Even when I had to like pack you in your little snowsuit when you're little and get you outside, because it's just
I
an
overall
important
like
part
the
of growing
snow.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
No-
even when you were a baby,
Now I
Ben.
hate it because of work. But
Yeah, but I used to put your little baby carrier in a wagon because the 3 girls. I had the 3 girls ahead of you, and
yeah.
and just drag you around so you were outside from the get go.
Well, the forts that we would have, even on different sides of the driveway and up at the cul-de-sac where they would go and the plow
Yeah.
would take,
Oh, the snow.
all the snow and just pile it up
Yep.
like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And that was really fun times too.
Yeah. Great neighbors.
Yeah, we
Shout
had
out
a
to
very
the Jacobys.
Yeah,
the
shout out to them.
Davises. Yeah, great neighbors.
Yeah, it was a great time. I just when it comes to just that magic of childhood, I definitely had that. So I
Good.
appreciate that.
Yay.
I appreciate that. People didn't always get the chance to at times or whatever, which is
Yeah.
so awesome because, at times, like, you not that you didn't have that, but like it was definitely
Yeah.
you're up and down. So one other thing that I wanted to mention, it just popped up in my head when we're still like in your childhood and whatnot, is that so I had one thing like, what was your best memory? What was your worst memory? And I remember a specific one that you told me that I thought was like at the time so crushing.
What was that?
This was like when you were at the foster. It might be better when you if you tell
Yeah,
it.
I mean, for my mom, she, as I said, had some really hard periods in her life. So we were in foster homes for a while,
Yeah.
and we were split up. And I can remember she would come for visits, and I can remember it was really hard to see her go, and I would sit at the
Yeah.
window and cry, and
That's-
you know what I mean. And
Ah.
I didn't really understand it, but my mom, got well and fought to get all of us kids back, and she did,
Wow.
and I'm really thankful. She had a lot of strength. So that was very tough as a kid. And one thing just to piggyback on what we were talking about previously, my mom was a single mom most of the time, so she was not able to be at home, and I was just thankful I was able to be home with you guys.
Yeah.
And you could go and play outside and be in the neighborhood, and we could go to the beach and just,
I want to ask you
very
a funny
thankful.
thing. Remember when you were homeschooling me?
Yeah.
Do you remember when I cheated on that science test? I had the answers on my hand, and you're like, "You're cheating." And then I'm like, "No, Mom, I just have notes on my hand." And like, "Ben, that is cheating."
Call it what it
And
is.
then probably the only time I really actually cheated on a test. I tried before, but
Wow.
I tried to cheat off Chris Bourgeois so many times in high school, and he would be a real stick in the mud about it. I'm like, "Dude, do me a favor, man. My career's on the line." My career
Cheating,
that I
no
haven't
cheating,
started
no
yet.
go, no go.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So that strength that you're talking about, that you just had to find out kind of earlier in life than most other kids. Like, where do you think that's where like strictly comes from? Because when people who know you really well, or just know of you, especially, like, I don't think people realize how emotionally strong of a woman you are.
Oh. Thanks.
Because look at me and Dad really quickly. Like we're super emotional people. Like I would say my sisters are our sisters. My sisters are too. But just that, like, especially, I always like say how like Mariah is the badass of the family, just in like her line of work and the things she does.
Your
and her
personalities
mentality.
are all different, and I think
Yeah.
you're looking at this as maybe being a negative thing. Like, I would say you and Dad are sensitive. I don't think that's a negative thing
Yeah.
because
Sure are.
sometimes, I think you can hold your emotions in check, and that, can build up and not be a great thing
Yeah.
necessarily.
For sure. For sure.
But, yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. So transitioning into a little bit. So what some people probably don't know about you is that you were a nurse for a while.
I was a nurse back in the day.
How'd you get into nursing?
Well, I remember thinking I had never done any volunteer work in the field or anything like that, but I love people and I loved medicine,
Yeah.
the sciences. And I remember just saying to my mom, I think I was probably a junior or senior, actually junior, and I was like, "Mom, I'm going to go be a nurse." She's like, "You can't. You've never volunteered. You don't know anything about it." And I'm like, "Nope, that's what I'm going to do. I love people. I love medicine and medical things." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you've always were you always like pulled to that stuff? Like, you did good in school.
I always thought, I was a good student. And I always just loved medical shows. And if there was ever surgery or anything that you could watch, I was like right there.
Right, because
you know?
Mariah likes blood,
Yeah,
right?
blood. yeah.
You should
Big
see some of the
medical
movies
stuff.
I've watched, Mom.
That's not really medical stuff, Ben. That might
not,
be gore. I
it's
think
not.
that comes under the category of gore. So, yeah. I like it when it's put back together. You know what I'm saying? The healing aspect of it.
Oh, wow. Jeez. So, when being a nurse, so how many years of schooling is that?
Oh, okay. Am I giving secrets away here? Well,
I don't think so.
No, I went.
I just gave
People
some
know
away
this,
some secrets.
I went to UNH, so it was a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. But there was this one class, and again, math, not really great.
Statistics, right?
Statistics. So you had to take the statistics class, and it took 3 runs at that before I got the acceptable grade. So let's just say I took the 4-year program into a 5-year program,
Yeah.
and I got a minor in psych as well, so I could,
Nice.
finish that to statistics.
Psychology's cool, though.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's good
Sick.
to understand things, right?
Yeah.
Understand people.
Yeah. Even that's so funny with statistics. One thing that I don't know if I ever told you this. Do you know what? I almost struggled a little bit doing consumer math with Josh Winans at NCA. We had one. I passed it, obviously.
Yeah,
I should have passed it with basically like 100, but it was like high 80s or whatever, which was still pretty lame.
You got
it was
the
like,
grade.
It was me, Joe Fournier, and Rebecca Crowley,
Oh,
and
okay.
or she has a different last name now
Yeah.
because she's married, but. The time zones were like really confusing me at one point, and Winans was like beside himself. Was like, "Ben, what are you doing? Focus!" Because like half the time, like
It wasn't during basketball season, was it?
Oh,
He's
probably.
Like, Ben,
It was
you
like-
got to get the
it's like-
grade. I need you on the court.
It's like I'm like Winans. So we have this like, what do you think about how are we gonna go at like Holy Family this year? And then he's like, Ben, So when you're in Los Angeles going to Boston, how many?
What's gonna happen?
Oh, it was funny, but it was that was a hoot. That was like my senior year too, so I didn't even have many. I had like almost 2 study halls a day and whatever. It was cool.
Mhm.
It's cool. Sometimes
Back in the day.
Sometimes I wonder. I hear some of my friends that went through college and are graduated now. That's not all the credits switched over to like the colleges that they went to. But in looking back on it, my English teacher, Mrs. Carolyn Dervick, shout out to you. She ended up doing she taught a lot of college preparatory classes, which were really sensational and awesome. I honestly didn't mind English. I just thought of now think about it, I would write my own stuff on the sides.
Some great stuff. I remember for a while when you were younger, you loved to write these stories.
I still have that whole book, just fantasy book plotted out when I got in the car accident and I didn't have a car for like a week and a half.
Oh yeah.
That was after the 2020 I had the rental this happened in 2020. So but I had a rental of a Honda Civic 2020. Or no, I destroyed my Ford Escape and I had an Escape 2020 or whatever, and it was super nice, but it ran out, so that's when I had all the time to write.
Well, let's just pause there and say thank you, Lord, because you should have been
the car accident. Yeah.
You should have been gone.
I haven't told this story actually, so anyone who hasn't heard this story from me, so back when this was, like I said, almost 5 years ago now. So I was applying. I had done, as a lot of people know, when I was doing Blue Sky from 2018 to 2023, end of 2024. 2023 I think was the year. During the power washing season was anytime from March, April to, essentially November.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in the off season, I did Amazon off and on for the last couple of years. So there's an Amazon warehouse right near our house. Or your house in Merrimack, where I'm staying at currently, and for some reason when I was applying on Amazon, it was COVID at the time, so it was hard to. So I ended up whoever gets me first, I don't care if I have to drive a little bit.
Yeah.
Because going down to Mass really was only 35-40 minutes. It was in Wilmington, Massachusetts, which is kind of right, but it was right near Andover. But the exit. What ended up happening was I was in the second lane of a 3-lane highway. There was a truck, a semi going pretty slow, barely 60 miles an hour. And I'm not a speed demon, but I'm people are going wicked fast in the leftmost lane, probably 80 or 90 or whatever. So I'm going to pass him on the right. There's no one in the right lane. So I pass him on the right, and I'm listening to music or whatever. So I look out the window, and at this time, like I said, it's early December, so there's a little bit of snow on the side, some of those small snow banks or whatever, but there wasn't a lot of snow on the ground or whatever. And so I'm just looking out the window, and then I look up like this, and right in front of me, coming right at me, is another. What type of car was it? It was kind of like a RAV4 type of Suzuki type of a deal, one of those type of cars. And I hit them at 70 miles an hour. And then it was interesting. So when
interesting.
What a way to describe a car crash.
Yeah.
So I there was a guardrail. I hit them, or we hit each other, hit the guardrail and whatever. So, and what ended up happening was, so I was okay. I totaled my car, totaled it. I had a rip in my jeans. Someone took my pant leg and just took a knife. I wonder if it was just from the pressure. The airbags came out. I was scared. So when I got out of so people were pulling over and whatever. But as soon as it happened, I sat in my car for 10 seconds. I'm like, did I just get in a car crash? Mm-hmm. And then I was then the reality set in. I was like, oh my God. So I tried to get out of the car. The car door was bent in. So I kind of kicked my way out. And then people were helping out the other people, where's the other driver? And I'm like, oh, it's me. And but when I went up to the other people's car, I was worried because I saw the transmission fluid, and I don't know much about cars. I'm like, I didn't think it was blood, but your awareness is so heightened or whatever. And so it looked like it was another African American couple that hit me, and it seemed like one of them was holding their arm, but they
Yeah, I
walked
think he
out.
hurt
They
his
were
arm.
screaming, obviously,
Yeah.
and whatnot, just because of the thing. But what ended up happening was what I heard from the police officer is they got caught off in the third lane by
Yeah.
another car, which caused them to hit the snowbank, which this snowbank was a foot high, maybe.
And then they
And then they went
jackknifed.
across 3 lanes, somehow missed the semi, and then hit me. The semi actually saw it happen. He was one of the first people
Yeah,
that
he
saw it happen.
stopped, right? I remember
Yeah.
you saying.
And he was like a couple hundred feet down the road and like walked back, I saw. But it was cool, when that happened, there was like probably 10, 15 cars that pulled aside and all that stuff. But there goes the Ford Escape, which you guys have another black Ford Escape now.
But I remember you calling me after that, and probably the words that no mom wants to hear.
Yeah.
Mom, I have something I got to tell you. I got in an accident, but I'm okay. But it was a really bad accident. And I remember coming down because I had to come pick you up. And
How was that call? What were you thinking?
It's just it wasn't so bad until I think your car. I saw the
How
car.
badly it was
How
jacked
smashed up it was.
I
And
had
then
a
we
picture
ended
of
up
it.
driving
Yeah.
past the scene, and I was like, and then the way you described it, you were on 495, I
Yep.
think, right? So someone flipping around and hitting you head on. You said you couldn't even tap your brakes.
Oh, no.
It happened so quick, and it's like,
Yeah.
that was a miracle. God spared your life.
Well, I was confused
you
because
know?
when I was
And
looking
I'm so
at
thankful.
the window, and I just that half second, whatever
Yeah.
timing is everything, and I'm like, why is there a car? Like, I didn't have enough time to be like,
Something's
why?
out of place here.
Well, I'm like, why is the car facing me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Slam.
Wow. And the violence
So-
of that attack is just
Yeah.
people like that's kind of underrated
It is. I don't think you
or
don't realize
not as
it.
covered. But just the violence of crashes
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
I remember I was watched online like unintentionally one time at night. 'Cause there's like you can find the craziest compilations on YouTube, but this one like 100-car pull up in Dallas or whatever. It's when
on a
they
major highway.
and
Yeah.
several people got killed, but these people were flying in at like 70 miles an hour because I think the weather was, or they couldn't. It was like it almost like something with the weather, but like it was where people were coming in and they didn't see like the whole pile up or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's probably fog or something. Yeah, it's very traumatic.
Yeah, that
Very
stuff is
dramatic.
nuts. So going back to nursing, since we were talking
yes.
about blood and guts and whatever, I was so glad that I didn't. I walked away with like I think
I remember you just
I think I
being
bit my
sore
lip, maybe.
later. Yeah,
And then,
you had a split lip and your pants were ripped, and you were bruised up, like sore.
Yeah, and
remember being really sore.
I remember I told because I didn't make it to the interview, and so I came back and hit up the guy again. Which like Amazon and like for FedEx, like sometimes like you have no call, no shows, like are things ever gonna work out? I'm like, I needed the job, I needed the money.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, what happened? I'm like, oh, I got in a car accident. He's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, you want to see? And I showed him. Like, oh, what? No wonder you didn't make it in. I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah. So tell me some. So what's like the basic? You worked. Where were you working?
So
when
I
you were a
worked
nurse?
on a step down floor, so it had cardiac monitoring as well as a lot of other medical, surgical, and respiratory was kind of the subspecialty.
Gotcha.
So
Is that what Mary Alice does? Respiratory.
she's a respiratory therapist, Mary
Ooh,
Alice. Yeah,
Future guest, maybe.
Definitely, you
Yeah.
should definitely have her on.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be so cool.
but it's a great profession. And what do I always tell you about nurses, Ben? I always say to you guys, nurses are.
Wait. I'm supposed to know this, huh? Nurses are the best caretakers?
They're good people.
Oh, they're good people? Yes, yeah.
I always tell you
They are
guys,
good people.
They are good people.
So this is going to lead into some. Or did you have anything else you were going to say on that?
Oh, it's just an amazing field for people to go into. I feel like not easy, not glamorous.
Yeah. So what are some of
But-
the weird stuff you just saw on the job? Like times where just the situation or the condition someone had, or
Well, I mean, I
circumstances
think,
with
again,
family?
paying attention to your health is a huge thing. People who would succumb to years of alcohol abuse or
Yeah.
drug use, which is very sad. One of the most amazing things I think that I remember seeing is giving a patient blood and watching the color come back into their face. Someone who's
Really?
like very pale, very sickly, and as they're having blood, the color just returns, and it's like the life is returning to them, and it's just it was an amazing thing. I'll never forget it as a young nurse, watching that.
Yeah, another random tangent to tie into this. I was talking with one of my friends about different reasons why to present to someone, like why you think there's a God in the universe and whatnot, and maybe we can touch faith a little bit later. But I've got this from things that you've talked about quite frequently throughout my whole existence, But the body's ability to heal, that's like how mind blowing and just creative that God was. Because how have you I should show you this.
Well, I could tell you some of I think of some of the wounds that I took care of that people had over the course of time. And I remember this one lady, she had open heart surgery. So
yep, continue.
Her chest had been cut open. She had an infection anyhow, long story short. But she had like the size of your fist that you could stick up into her chest because it had to be opened and what they call packed and so forth. So the healing could happen.
Do they do it like under the breast? Or?
Yeah. I mean, cut through the chest bone, right? And so I think, but little by little, you're packing in less and less and less, and you're just seeing the healing come. Yeah. Right, and the body is, the infection is clearing, and you're having to use less to pack the wound, and
but there's just the body itself creates those, even just like things we can't see, like antibodies.
Well, just even when
cells.
You guys were little, I remember, like, say you fell down and you scratched yourself, or
remember when I scratched my knee really badly when we were gonna go to, and I still have that like scar. Yeah. When I slid on dirt when I was on my bike and just took a whole layer of my kneecap off. That really hurt.
But you can see even with kids, they're growing so fast, their cells are regenerating, and you scrape after a nap doesn't even look as bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So this is one thing I wanted to show you, Mom. This is kind of crazy. This is this guy, Paul George. So this is him with the ball right here. I'm trying. I'll fast forward. Just wait. I think it's right here, Mom. Did you see it?
What happened? No, I couldn't see it.
This is where Paul George breaks his leg.
Oh, when he landed. Oh.
So this is the I can't. So he ended up coming back from this career. It's so. I'm trying to see if you can see. If we can see it happen.
Oh, that's okay.
His leg snaps.
Oh, I've seen it with football.
So what ended up happening was, so he goes up for a layup to go block to block someone, and I think it was Derrick Rose or whatever. He goes to block him, and so he just kind of goes over the guy, like taking the layup, and his legs are in the air, so his leg
when it
pushes
down.
Against the
padding
of the hoop, and his leg just folds like this. And a couple years later, he went and played for the Thunder and had an MVP season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does the body recover from such insane, like even stuff where I was listening to even some like victims of like, crazy diseases, or even like even some Holocaust victims that made it out. It's like, it's weird seeing a body like be totally
emaciated and
that's the
ravaged.
Word. Thank you.
Yeah. God's made our bodies to heal. He's put that in there. I've been thinking a lot, and I think you're hitting upon this almost like what also makes one person resilient over another, from what they've experienced. Some people are completely broken and devastated and other people can recover and come back from it. So
Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
yeah.
So what was the most rewarding part of the job? You probably touched on it already.
Oh, I just
About
think
being a nurse.
watching, just seeing people get well,
Yeah.
easing people's pain, comforting people and easing their pain. And when I was a nurse, what I thought of is when I took care of someone, I think this could be my mom, this could be my
Yeah.
brother or my sister. And I want the same way I would want them cared for, I'm going to care for someone else's loved ones and stuff. So I think, yeah, that was part of it. And I worked with some great people. We had a lot of fun. It was yeah. So it's just
Treat
a
every
really good,
package like it's your own, right?
yeah,
That's
that's
my own
right.
take.
That's well, there you go. The
Yeah.
FedEx, right? It's true, and I think that's a principle for life. If we treat people that way, kind of off of the golden rule from the
Yeah.
Bible: treat others the way you want to be treated. But
Right.
yeah.
Totally. What do you think were some of the funny things that happened? Because you must have had so many hilarious stories.
Yes, there's lots. I mean, I think of one very embarrassing story that I had where
Bring it on.
I mean, it was just this man.
Spill the tea.
He wasn't. He was having to go somewhere, so I got him all set. He's in his wheelchair, but as anyone who's a nurse would know, you always have more work than the hours that you're actually there for. So I was rushing around, and my shoelace somehow, as I rushed around the bed, got caught under a piece of metal, and I just launched headlong and landed right in his lap. It was very embarrassing.
Well, I heard from some of my other friends that are nurses is that some of these old dudes are like, they're like these like horny, crazy dudes. Like they're
dirty
like
old men.
They're
Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
dirty old men. Like they're very flirtatious and whatnot, right? And they're like,
yes.
Dude, do you have even like your front teeth, man? Like, come on.
I mean, honestly, I worked for a period
But
of
you feel
time as a
bad.
visiting nurse and
Right.
up in Manchester, and it's the evening shift, so it's late at night. And if you open in the door and I say, okay, just you can close that door and go get your pants on and then come back and we'll talk,
Oh
so
man.
it's just,
Did you have
So-
any some bad like poop stories? Like bowel movements?
I don't think we want to talk about
Oh,
that
come
on
on.
the podcast.
Come
Come
on,
on. Are you
to
talking from
what?
childhood or nursing stories?
Oh, nursing. I don't want.
Hey, let's just say sometimes it required a complete change of clothes.
Wow.
But
Alright, that's
once
fair.
again, I mean, you have to realize, unfortunately, even for that, you're taking care of people when they're very vulnerable.
Jeez.
And so.
So, what was like your longest shift you had to do as a nurse? Because my friend Renata, I think works in Nashua, and she has to do some crazy shifts. I think also another one of my friends, Amanda, too. I know several nurses now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I know like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all good, like really nice people.
So probably
too.
16 hours, I'd say. I work 12-hour shifts days, but then sometimes you got to stay over because help is not coming in. You usually give your assignment over to someone else, and sometimes if they're not coming, you gotta just help out. So. Yeah.
So, what were some like awesome things that happened while you were being a nurse? Like, you must have had some. You're a pretty friendly person and very down to earth and approachable.
Yeah.
So you must have had some great coworkers or patients that.
Yeah. Well, I can
were just
remember
sweethearts.
also this one time, and sometimes it was just very wonderful to see couples who had been married, the level of devotion to one another. They'd been married 50 years, this one instance jumps out to me where I had this man. He was pretty confused, but he was having cardiac issues, so he was on our floor, and so he constantly had to be watched, and his wife was there quite a bit. And I went in once, and he was just kind of combing his face, and not knowing what he was doing. And I said to his wife, I said, he must have been really handsome when he was young. And she's like, he still is handsome. And not only that, this guy had been like an admiral and had
Wow.
this, you know what I mean? Sometimes what you're seeing in your slice of what you see
Yeah, your segment
is not
there.
reflective of what this person did in the span of their life. And so I think the stories that family members sometimes that just gives you an added layer of compassion and understanding, and where people are coming from.
Did you take care of a lot of veterans?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know.
Because how many years were you
actually.
doing nursing for?
So
total?
I graduated in '87, so I probably worked for 7, 8, maybe 8 or 9 years before
Wow.
I stopped to be with all you children.
Yes. What a
But
great
you know what?
segue,
You always
Mom.
use nursing skills lifelong.
Yeah.
You'll use them.
Literally.
And you'll always get those calls, and your friends probably, you guys probably call, hey, I know you're a nurse. Can I ask you this question?
Yeah.
So
It's like I remember when I was doing that brief plumber's apprenticeship, when I remember my boss was mentioning how he doesn't mention his job unless he has to or whatever, or what he does, because people will just be like asking him for quotes and
for advice,
hey,
or
my,
hey, come on by
my
the house.
shower head is leaking.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
So this is what I was hoping would come up, which I'm glad I didn't forget. So you had my name before anybody else.
Yes.
Just
You want to know the story?
Just elaborate.
Okay.
Give us the story.
I'm going to give you the story.
Your perspective. It's a great.
It's a great,
narrative.
strong name, isn't it?
Son of my right
Okay.
hand.
Here's
As I
where
do
it
with my
started.
left.
So
I was curling today. I was doing arms, man. My arms are like a fish. I
right.
almost wanted to because Dad kept bothering me. I said this earlier to Mom when we were right before breakfast, guys. But Dad comes up to me in the gym while I'm doing the cables, like doing triceps. He's like, "Hey, how's it going, man? Looks like it's going well." And then it's like,
I'm surprised
7
he
a.m.
didn't jump on the cable with his full weight and go, "Come on, Ben."
Yeah. He was a walking puddle too. I love it.
Hey,
Yeah.
you gotta love it. He's still sweating and
Yep.
kicking it up at the gym.
Heck yeah.
Well, speaking of your father, so Ben, Dad and I were on our honeymoon in Hawaii,
How about you?
and we went out and took a boat to go scubaing,
Sick.
which was beautiful and amazing. And so I looked at Dad, and you can envision this. He was just standing there with his droopy shorts on, his sneakers that were untied, his cowlick in the back of his head. And I thought, oh, I just hope, Lord, that I get a little boy just like him someday, right? So fast forward. We were expecting our first. So, and even then I told Dad, I said, I feel like God's given me the impression that we're going to have a boy. And so he's like, great. And so we love the name Benjamin.
Did you pick any of the names, or were they all you?
No, we picked them together because some Dad often doesn't voice a strong opinion, but when he does, I feel like, okay, he really means that. So, but we both love the name Benjamin, and well, along came Steph, and along came Mariah. Now number 3, and Dad's thinking, and along came Bethany. All right, and then the 4th time, and I love all of you guys equally, and you know that, even though you're like, Mom, who's your favorite?
CYA.
And so, but then came along you, Ben, and I didn't have any ultrasounds with the other one. And I remember for you, they were big babies, so I think I had an ultrasound for you. And I remember the technician going, "It's a boy," and I'm like, I was looking at
What?
it, and I'm like, I don't see it. I need concrete proof to bring home to my husband. She circles right there.
Yep.
Can't you see it plain as day? So along came you, a boy.
But he didn't want kids after Bethany.
No,
Right?
that's not true. I think
No? All right.
no, that's not true. What it was, it was really hard then, Ben, because
Yeah.
your older sister had
'Cause
special needs.
You didn't
and
realize Steph was
it's-
special needs till like 2 or 3, you said, right?
No, we knew earlier on. We just
Really?
didn't know exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
So it was just very full, busy. It was very busy. And Dad, he starts rubbing his head and he's like, this is a lot.
Ready? This is my dad impression. Well, give me something to like go off of.
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be another long day today.
Oh, Jen.
Yeah. It's all good.
I mean, it's
all good.
not. It's just, why does she take so long to get out of the bathroom when I'm just trying to get in there?
Well,
Gee,
she's
got all these files.
You know what
a
I would
certain
say?
person of the family I'm referencing.
You know what I would say? You know how long it took Queen Esther to get ready for the king? 6 months. And so I tell Dad that.
Tell that to Abby.
So,
I take long showers. Abby takes like 42-minute showers.
yeah. So we're blessed with 4 girls
Abby. I had
and
to do
1
it.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but Ben, you're my fave boy in my contacts. So
Thanks, Mom.
there we go. There we go. And look at how much it's helped you to relate to women and to talk to people. Honestly, can I tell this story?
Please. Hopefully it's
The
a
girls, I think Bethany and Mariah were telling me, coming back from a retreat, where did you guys used to go?
Oh, the camp. Yeah, I know this.
Camperia.
Yeah.
And they said, Mom, you would not believe it. Here's Ben having tea. And there's all these girls all around the table. And he's just chit-chatting it up with them.
Yeah.
And there's other guys that would be scared to death to talk to the girls. And
Yeah.
Ben's just chit-chatting it up. And I
Well,
said,
that's
good you
because I
have
didn't know what to
sisters.
do. Yeah. And I was they're
You
like
know how to talk to girls, so.
and I
yeah.
didn't like tea at the time, but I was just trying to.
That's what I wondered about. But
Yeah, I hated it at the time. That was awesome, Mom.
Yeah.
I love that. Another funny thing for people that don't know, I wanted to. So our Abby's younger than me. She's the 5th child. Bethany's the misunderstood middle child. No, I'm just kidding. Blonde hair, blue eyes, right, Beth?
yeah, beautiful.
Well, all of us
Bethany.
are. I still can't. Brown hair, and you say poopy eyes. They're just disgusting. I think Dad.
Do you remember what you wanted to call Abby? The names?
Yes, that's
And
what I
you
was
were-
trying to get
you
to.
were
Thank
dead
you.
serious.
I wanted to call her Buzz Lightyear or
Oh,
Goliath.
Goliath. That's like-
That's awesome.
we're like, no, Ben. We're not going to do that.
Oh man! And who named Maddie? That was you, right?
No, that was you
Our
guys.
dog, first dog.
You know why? Madagascar. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, that was me, kinda. I was like, call her
Madagascar.
Madagascar.
It was after that. You were sick with pneumonia, and that was the only thing during those long nights. You wanted to watch that movie over and over and over, and you'd laugh at the same
Yeah.
same
And
place.
the day we got Maddie, I almost drowned because
Ah.
this kid Adam jumped into me when we were
After you
when
got
we were
baptized.
baptizing people. Yeah, that was the day I got baptized. Wow, I
Yeah,
got
you-
baptized twice.
You and Abby, right?
Yeah, I
You,
think
in
so.
a pond. Where was that?
That was at like was it Margie's Lake or whatever, or Lake House or someone's?
It was at some pond.
Was it
I
maybe
remember that.
Brookline.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I remember my friend Aaron he
Yes.
couldn't walk because he got bit by a spider.
I remember. I do remember that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna try for those listening. I'm trying to get my old Italian friend Aaron. I've known him since 2nd grade or whatever, and he has a crazy story that to tell because he's actually got put out of work recently because of something that just happened to him. So he'll be in soon to talk about that, hopefully.
Definitely.
Going back to a couple other things with the family. So this is a little bit of a curveball. So do you have any regrets or things differently that you would like raise us kids at all?
Nothing that
Or
comes
things
off
you would
the,
add
the
to?
top of my head. I mean, I just feel like, honestly, you guys had a different experience than I had growing up, and I'm very thankful for
Yeah.
that, and I'm very thankful that I was able to stay home. It took me a little while. Like I finally stopped working right before Bethany was born, so I'd cut back in my hours, and because things were getting
How old
busier.
were you when you had you got married at 25, right?
I just turned 25. Yeah.
And then you had your first kid at 26?
Yeah, probably almost 2 years later. So not
Yeah.
quite. Yeah. But so I mean, I guess you guys maybe would answer that question differently. But I just feel like we were able, like, we did not go on family vacations very often. We'd take a day here
Hey,
or a
dude,
day
Santa's
there.
Village. We do
Yeah.
weekly beach trips though.
Yeah, weekly beach trips. But, part of that was the shift because we didn't have my income.
Yeah.
But I was just very thankful that we were able to make those adjustments and that I could be with you guys growing up. And I'll always treasure that.
Yeah.
And, I love being a mom.
One thing that you mentioned when we were at, I was saying how I was referencing my cousin-in-law. I think I was talking about Mike Kennedy when we were at.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be considered my cousin-in-law, right? I don't know. He's my bro. He's arguably kind of like
He's your
basically
cousin's
my
husband.
Yeah, I love you, man. Shout out to you, Mike.
Yeah.
I was saying how some people, even in like I'll keep this short because everyone's talking about it. No, I don't need to add my opinion to the throng, but just with like dating, everything's like either like black or white. Like there's either like you're a single independent woman that like it's got to be a girl boss and whatever, or you're like a trad wife or whatever. I was telling you, like I said, I might have my friends
that was
David
a
and
new
Madison
term to
on.
me, a trad.
Yeah,
wife.
it's a word short for traditional.
Yeah.
And you said you had a story when you decided when you spoke with Dad to give up your job and just be with the kids or whatever. You said you had a story where someone had shared their specific their thoughts on it
Before we had kids?
when they figured out when they were like, "Hey, Jen, you should be like, why are you doing this?" type of deal.
Oh no, I think I think of a couple things that it was always our plan when if God blessed us with children that I would be able to stay home from, and I felt so strongly about that because I didn't really have that growing up.
Yeah.
That it was that important. If I couldn't do that, then it was like that's really going to be tough. So
you're not a messed up person though. Like you're so even keeled. And you're gonna say it's my faith, Ben. It's
no,
like,
you know what? But
you grew up in the age where you guys didn't go to therapy or whatever, because you didn't you say to yourself, just pick yourself out by your bootstraps and keep going.
but which is not always a good thing necessarily.
Yeah, it's not always
but
ideal.
I think of it that things have changed for the better. I think for people, and I think my mom really could have benefited from some of those services, but I think she grew up in a day and age where it wasn't talked about.
What year was she born?
What's that?
What year was she born?
22.
Wow.
Yeah. But to go back, I think for Dad and I, we were. I was working as a nurse. He was working in software engineer, and so if and when we were able to have children, we were able to alter our schedule. So I worked evenings, and Dad could change. So like he'd work 6 to 2, and I would be with Steph, and then I would go into work, and Dad would be with her. And we worked it like that, and we were able to shift our schedule. And then eventually, for our third, I stopped working altogether. But I think for me, it's just really important to have that time and to be able to be with your kids. And I never looked at it. Dad never was like. He was really happy when I was finally like, okay, honey, I think I'm ready to be done. And he's like, yeah, happy dance. But he never, that was never something he demanded. And I think we joined our lives together, to become one. And we always look at it like, Team Sontag, especially after we get outnumbered there as more children are coming. And your dad is just a great hands-on dad. He'd come home from work and jumped right in. It wasn't like, I need my break, so, and you guys were always happy to see him. So I'm very thankful for the career time that I had. Everyone looks at it differently. And so I'd like to think you all benefited from, hopefully, from, having me at home and being able to be there to raise you. For your formative years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm back at the house for now, so hopefully I can find a place. If anyone needs or wants a roommate, let me know.
Yeah. Well, one thing I have to think too, Ben, I remember you being in high school and going to a soccer game and seeing you across the field, and you're like, "Hey, Mom," from across the field. And one of the other moms looked at me and said, your high school son just yelled over and said hello to you. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, you must be doing something right. So
Well, that's
I
what's
was
kind of a weird thing. Like,
You
don't
know?
you? I don't want to speak for the other girls or whatever, but I feel like our relationship is super open, super. We talk about a lot of things. I think one thing that helps with that too is like we totally bond over faith, like me, you,
Yeah.
and Dad especially. So that's always been like we can talk about most things. And I had friends that were like, my parents, and everyone has times obviously where
Oh, sure.
where that happened and whatever. And
Yeah.
even times
Yeah.
now, like it's not just like a high school thing. Obviously, it's definitely like can be more edgier or cringier.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm like, what if it didn't have to be that way? Like, why couldn't you just they respect you and you respect them?
Of course.
And then,
of course.
you
Just
know.
like with
So
siblings.
I feel like I've
so-
earned a lot of that. Even stuff
Yeah.
that like me, you, and Dad pretty much don't agree on. That's like, but we have
It's
a
okay
relationship
not to
that's
agree.
not. Yeah.
And you have to, I think kids have to grow up and be able to uniquely be who God's,
Yeah.
made them to be, and not, maybe what the parents have as their ideal or what you should be doing and so forth.
Yeah. Hey, so I know you got some errands to run, so we'll do a couple more questions and then
Sure.
we'll get out of here. Thanks again for coming down, Mom. I love you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love you too.
When I had Jesse on, we were talking. We didn't get a lot of time to talk about episode 14, guys. Check that out.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Love Jesse.
That's my girl. That's my 40-year plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, advance
Shout
it.
out to you, Jesse.
Go to 30.
Yeah. Funny. So I wanted to have Jessie back on to really get into like all the missionary
Yeah.
work that she did especially with the not the Amazing Race, jeez.
The World Race.
World Race.
The World
Sorry,
Race.
Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does like that show, though.
Yeah, she does. I just wanted to talk about really briefly one of the most I'll have a point in a minute where I'll ask you where you can give me and the audience some of your best advice. But I remember when the first time I ever went on a missions trip, went down to Guatemala. It was a good time, like 7 nights, 8 days. And for 4 days, we like helped out with people. And then like 3 days, we would just kind of like went around. Like I saw a volcano, which is cool. I brought back some rocks for some people, actually.
Yeah.
But I remember at the time, like I felt conflicted because at the time, for what it was, like at school, because you had to do a missions project to graduate, which
Requirement.
honestly I kind of like that. Some people are up in the air about that, like in the past, but I thought it was really admirable, at least to like you get out of your own skin and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And so I came back and I was like, or maybe this was before even the mission trip, but I'm like, Mom, you haven't gone on a missions trip in forever. Like, why haven't that? Because you know what? I should have. How much time do you have?
I got time.
So could you give a little bit of, I don't know, like 5, at least maybe just even if it's like 5 minutes of your missionary trip to
To Uganda?
Uganda.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say I
sure,
didn't. It was
sure.
either Uganda or Ethiopia.
Yeah, I
How old were you when you went?
I must have been probably 23.
So this is while
So I was
you're-
working as a nurse, and I took a 6-week leave of absence. They let me do that, and I went on a medical missions trip to Uganda, and through an organization called African Enterprise. I don't know what they are now, but it was an amazing trip. It was, as I said, a month-long trip. 3 weeks were kind of out in the jungle.
3 weeks?
3 weeks, and then the last week we went on safari, which was amazing, in Kenya before we came back. But so there was a team of 11 of us. Nobody knew each other other than 2 girls. We kind of from all over the
Wow.
country. There was a doctor, 1 physician's assistant, and the rest of us were nurses. So, and we kind of met up in the airport, some of us, others not till we actually got there. It was long traveling to get there. And we went out into the remote villages and we're doing immunizations for kids. The doctor would see other health conditions. We brought donations of medicine and so forth with us, toys for the kids.
Hmm.
And it was just it was an incredible time. We stayed in an old maternity. It was just like
Yeah.
a concrete building. So sleeping under the mosquito netting.
That was at night for when you were doing the immunizations?
Well, we'd go out from
Yeah.
there during the day, but the vehicles would break down, get stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and in Africa, when they say soon, that could be like a couple hours to 3 days.
Yeah,
so
That's
I just
funny
think
because that's a common stereotype,
and that is
right?
not a
Understatement.
real way we live in America.
Yeah.
And so I
Let's
think,
go.
and yeah, so it just opens your eyes. And I think for anyone who can go travel internationally, because we kind of are in our little United States cocoon of what we think everyone else thinks, and you realize not everyone else thinks like you.
Yeah, because can you talk about some of the gender kind of divides that you saw
in their culture?
Because you had to wear a skirt
Yeah.
all the time, right?
Yeah, that was part
Yeah.
of their culture when we were over there. And again, we're trucking through the jungle, through mud.
And this is what the 80s.
So this would have been 1988.
Yeah.
And also, I think women were treated differently in their culture. They did a lot of the work out in the fields. They'd have
They're carrying the water
baby,
too, right?
Yeah, a baby on their back,
Yeah.
one on the front. There was one point where this was became very apparent. We had to go to a post office, and so there was a very long line. And
Right.
so
This is funny.
one of the African gentlemen walked up and just cut the front of the line. And so
Me first, then you.
and so the gal that was at the front looked at him and said, "Excuse me, we've all been waiting in line." And I think he was so horrified and shocked that anyone
So
would even
offended that
speak
you would
to
talk
it.
to him?
He just completely walked away.
Oh,
you
wow.
know, because
Wow.
it's just culturally very different, and so you see. You see a lot of things that gives you an appreciation for what you do have, I think, and just
Yeah.
realizing that there's a lot of poverty in the world, a lot of people in need.
Yeah.
And even if you can't go, sometimes you can support the effort financially
Yeah.
and otherwise.
I talked about this once with Josh Hartling, and it's kind of just really popped into my head now because I haven't thought about it in a couple of years. But I'm like, dude, it wouldn't be. I feel like it would be noble if you could take like a year and go serve somewhere else.
There's someone I know who had all of their kids do that for a year, and they said it was the absolute best experience for the kids.
Yeah.
And
Well, even just not to get political, it's funny. We were talking at the end of our breakfast a little bit about like stuff going on in the Middle East, but even places like Gaza, which is like Israel's. I would say it's a country, regardless of the now it's like crazy or whatever. You were going to go on a trip to Israel actually,
yeah,
but how even places where it's just like flattened by war
yeah.
and whatever.
Well, even actually when I had gone to Uganda, it was known as the Pearl of Africa. It was very, very beautiful. But
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a very
Wow.
evil leader who took over there,
Who?
Idi Amin. I don't know if you remember the name. You can look into that. But and so he really did so much damage to that country. And the people, when we were there, told us of it. Actually, the man who was the interpreter for our group had been shot in the stomach in one of the raids and from the soldiers, but he cut off electricity to a lot of the outlying.
Wait, one of your people got shot?
No. This was our guide who was
Oh,
our
sorry.
interpreter.
My bad. Sorry,
year
guys.
before, and he just he took out a lot of people in the society who were helpful, doctors, lawyers, cut the electricity to the villages, fed people to the
Jeez.
crocodiles.
Really?
Yeah, just really.
Wow.
It was a very
So it
turbulent
looks
time
like
that
this
the
is the
country
guy.
was coming out of after. We visited after the, and I believe, he took a lot of
Wow.
wealth from the country.
Huh. Wow, that's crazy. So when you were there for 3 weeks. Yeah, I think 3
Yeah.
weeks is at least. Well, what did you feel like with the language barrier? Obviously, this was, a while ago, But that's one thing where I would feel so insecure because I'm terrible with language, even trying to barter with people, and which was really fun when we were in the marketplace.
Yeah, that to me was very tough when I first went there because I just wasn't prepared. A lot of people had polio. A lot of people were disfigured from things that we no longer saw in our country, and they would come up and want your watch for whatever wares maybe they had. But some people were crawling on the ground and so forth because of the disability. So it was very shocking to the system. You don't usually see something like that. But
yeah, wow, that's so cool. When you were out there, though, you must have seen some exotic animals, though.
Oh,
right?
On the safari?
What's it like seeing like a giraffe?
Well, the interesting thing is when we went
habitat.
on the safari, we would just pull up and the guy would say, we're just going to sit and wait. And it kind of popped up the roof so you could look out. And all of a sudden you'd see something move in the brush, and you couldn't even see it before. It was camouflaged perfectly. And there was a whole pride of lions, and all of a sudden they get up and they're coming fairly close. And the place where we stayed were these tents, but they told you not to go out after dark. Do not leave your tent.
Else you get devoured.
It was around like 2 or 3, and my teammates like, Jen, get up, get up. There were elephants just walking right through. It was a full moon.
Wow.
And for
could you hear them?
Oh yeah, they were just snapping, trees and stuff, and you could just
How close were you to them?
By. Not very far away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know 50 feet.
Do you know that there's the way that like we look at that dopamine hit when we like see a cute dog or a cute animal or whatever? That's what happens chemically in their brain when they see a human.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they figure this out? Wow.
I know that it's true. Trust me, guys.
We stayed inside the tent, so because it was like, there were.
But what about
monkeys.
bugs? You must have seen bugs or monkeys or.
Well, let me just say this. The bathrooms in the village was a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And centipedes and all sorts of like really gnarly bugs. That's why we had
Do you
the
see
mosquito.
big ones?
Oh yeah, the mosquito netting at
How
night.
big?
And anthills taller than you.
That must be
Taller
crazy.
than you.
Those ants must be huge, though.
I was not getting
Well,
close.
you remember this. Remember the first time when I was really young, and there was 2 times where I saw one not Steve Irwin, the other guy, Jeff something.
Oh, Jeff Corwin.
Remember when he did the Bigfoot episode and I got so scared I screamed bloody murder? Remember the other time where I couldn't if you watch Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom, they have
The
this
snakes.
one scene where they're underneath. I'm trying to even think exactly what it is.
The snakes you're talking about, right?
Well, the snakes are terrible. I'm very amphibiophobic, but they're in a tunnel or this is in the Temple of Doom, and you just see they imported thousands upon thousands of like insects, and it just I can't just thinking about it makes me
makes your skin crawl. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. No can do.
That must have been an awesome
Well, so I
experience,
have to say, when I went to that, I was really, praying and asking God, is this what I should do? Because I could
do stuff abroad.
No, become a missionary, right? I mean, I was single. I, had my job that I took 6 weeks off from, and is this what God was calling me to do full time? Yeah. And over the course of time, it became apparent that nope, he wanted me to come back here, and
well, that's what was amazing. Like bringing all this back around is that you said to me when I'm like, "What about your mission field?" And you said, "My mission field is here."
Yeah.
And I thought that was so amazing, and that's what really has spurred my faith to cultivate my own growth,
absolutely.
here, but also really be aware of just even your friend group or your family or the person at the gas station, whatever. So that's been a huge imprint on my life, Mom, that I will never forget.
Good. It's true. I believe that. It's like be present with the people that you're around. And again, we can't all go and go to the mission field. We can pray for them, financially support them, encourage them, and in many ways reach out and support that effort. So yeah, and there are just people around us that have needs all the time. So
Amen. Okay, well, a couple quick surefire questions, and then
yeah.
we'll be done. Okay, all right. So, what activity right now to you brings the most peace?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say probably being out in the garden.
Yeah.
Actually, I
Fending
remember,
off Nike.
yeah, keeping the dog out. No,
She's
no, I
burrowing.
just I love being outside. Love being
Nike
out
was
in the
supposed to
garden.
be here, but
She
you
was,
know,
but she's
I don't know if
probably a
that-
little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be pulling your curtains down and chewing on the mics.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have gone. So I just find being outside, being in the garden very peaceful because I feel like God teaches me a lot of good things in the garden.
Really?
And some of those things being, I remember going out there and just being so frustrated with all the weeds and just ripping stuff up. And all of a sudden I realized I'm ripping the good stuff up.
Yeah.
And I just felt like God's like, see, I don't deal with you that way. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
we got
wow.
weeds. We've got weeds in our life. And, you know, he pulls on them and he pulls on them. But he doesn't rip up the things that are growing and good. And so, and I'm just amazed at his creation out there.
Yeah, you've always
the
been a
crazy bugs down in
nature
the
guy.
dirt, and yeah, I know. Yeah. So, and it's just beautiful to watch stuff grow. And I thank him. I'm like, wow, you let me join in watching you grow this stuff. I mean, I put some fertilizer out there. I pull weeds up, but he brings the growth, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we think of that verse like someone planted, God, Apollos water, but Paul planted, Apollos water, God gave the growth. Yeah.
I also love dinner on the deck with the fam.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great
So,
time.
what's one day you'll never forget?
Oh,
There's all. This question could go many different ways. So
yeah, I would say, you know, the day I got married, the day I had all my kids. There's sad days I'll never forget too, for, you know, different reasons, but joyful ones. Yeah, those are some of.
Great. So, what is the best meal you've ever cooked?
Oh,
You are a legend when it comes to this, Mom. Dude, let's just list off the breads really quickly. I know I said I was going to be quick about this, but banana bread, cinnamon swirl bread, cinnamon bread, strawberry bread. Did I say banana bread?
You did say banana bread.
Pumpkin
bread. Honey whole wheat bread, sweet bread. Now sourdough. Throw sourdough in there.
Yeah, sourdough.
You know what Cheryl Sue Vale said to me once? She said, "Jen, you have the ministry of loaves. That's what you have." And I think I love to bake stuff for people because.
Oh, dude,
you know,
apple pie, blueberry pie.
Yeah.
What's the
apple crisp?
Apple crisp.
Cinnamon buns. Yeah.
Dude, monkey bread.
Monkey bread. Yep.
That's why I can't get away from bread. It's just freaking incredible. So what's the best meal you've ever made? You know?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, lasagna is a great meal.
Yeah. Is that
There's
your
also
favorite?
this. I really like it. I figure it feeds a crowd, and it's, you know me. There's always room for one more.
Yeah,
Feed a crowd.
What's your favorite type of like food? Is it Italian?
Yeah,
Because you also like steak a lot too.
I love steak.
You like
Good
steak just as
steak.
much as Dad.
Yeah, good ribeye.
I've never seen Dad cook steak.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know that he's so patient. So
I ain't patient either.
you know what? Sometimes the flame is a little too high. You gotta keep an eye on the flame.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. What is the favorite thing I cook that you like?
Ah, jeez.
Oh,
Well, if you ever cook Lindy's special casserole.
oh gosh. I gotta track
That's
that
something I've
down.
been reminding her. Shout out to you, Lindy. Just simple. Well, even that thing you made for Easter, that specific type of potatoes.
Oh,
The
the
red
red
bliss.
garlic chive.
Yeah.
Mashed potatoes.
And then your steak's great. There's a couple different ways you make like chicken, baked chicken.
Oh, marinating the chicken
Yeah,
and stuff.
The
Yeah,
marinated
grilled
chicken is great. Yeah, the stuff I just had the other day, which is like barbecue.
Yeah.
Right, that was solid. I'm kind of having a brain fart too.
Yeah. Well, I do. Abby, the girls really get on me, and I did put together a cookbook, like a collection of recipes. It's not like my personal recipes, but recipes I make. So
Yeah,
you will get one of
I
those
will.
eventually.
Who knows how much I'll make, but make
That's
something
all right.
out of it. So yeah, those would be a couple. But yeah, always your chicken dishes have been pretty solid. There's probably another one that I'm forgetting.
Meatballs. Who doesn't
Yeah,
love good meatballs?
but meatball subs are just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that every time Josh came over, we happened to be having meatball subs.
Oh, dude, just you making sandwiches
Yeah.
too is amazing.
Yeah.
So just a whole, that's the thing. If I find someone that can't cook, I'm like,
Everyone can learn
they
to
have
cook.
they have a
though.
high ceiling.
Some
so.
people don't like it, but I think everyone can learn how to do it.
If I ever get the patience and a free afternoon, the next thing I want to do is pizza. So.
Oh, there you go. Homemade pizza too.
Yum.
Yeah, good stuff.
So say if God forbid something happens and you have one more meal left to eat, what would it be?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one, Ben.
No.
I guess it would probably have to be a steak and a really good salad. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, like even I would. It would. Now it would depend. But maybe a steak with suddenly salad.
The pasta salad. Yeah. Yep.
That would be fire. I like broccoli too. Did you do something with the broccoli the other day?
Yeah,
on a
roasted
random?
broccoli.
What did you?
Like
You
that?
put some spices
Some
in.
spices.
That was
olive
amazing.
oil and
Oh,
roasted in the oven. Yeah.
incredible, Mom. This has been great. To close out on our last question, give the audience your best advice you've ever been told. Sometimes it varies per person as well.
Well, I think some sayings and some things, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. In other words, you can say all the things in the world, but unless people actually are seeing you follow through and do some of those things, they're just words. And I think for you guys, I always wanted, go above and beyond. Give it your best effort. Your best effort and more. So whether it's your job you work in, your relationships with your friends, your family, don't be mediocre,
Wow. Great advice. Well, thank you very much,
Mom. And I
Mom.
have one more thing, actually. I went to a baby
Please.
shower the other day. So for the moms,
Yes.
when we gave our gift to the mom-to-be, they asked, give a piece of advice for the mom. So what I said for all those moms, when the days get long, go in and watch your little one sleeping and go back and flip through the baby book.
Wow.
It will recenter you.
Yeah. I love it, Mom.
The days are long, but the years are short. And so just enjoy the babies, enjoy the journey, and try and have a lot of joy in the journey and laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mom, happy Mother's Day. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this was fun.
Are you going to have Dad on for Father's Day?
Yeah, when it's Father's Day?
Third week in June. So.
Okay, well then Pops will
All
be up in
right.
June then.
Very good.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching.
Yeah.
And love you all, guys, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace out.
Thanks, Mom. That was awesome.
All right.
I'm so glad.